What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel here, and you may notice we're doing a little time-lapse video, which you'll see. I may be, throughout this video, miniaturized in the corner or gone full screen. We'll see how I edit this, but I wanted to show you guys a time-lapse while also covering some tips that I learned as a beginner in art that may be effective for you guys. I am still a beginner, so I'm still learning, just like you guys. But I feel like there's some things that I picked up along the way in this short amount of time. We're inching ever closer to 200 days straight of drawing. So I would still consider that being in the beginner level of art, depending on what you consider. It's all kind of subjective, right? But that doesn't mean I can't provide good advice for people who are just starting off, who are just jumping in. That is how I got motivated to jump in, watching other people do, drawing every day, time lapses, stuff like that. And so hopefully you guys find this information effective, maybe useful, helpful, maybe it might push you to begin. Speaking of beginning, that is one of the toughest hills that you may come across. You may not know where to begin. What do you want to focus on? What do you want to use as your medium? Do you want to use a pencil? Do you want to use a pen? Do you want to use canvas? Do you want to use paper? I would say for most beginners, the best way, obviously, and the most cost-effective way is going to be with pencil, paper that you can get for less than $5 to start off with, let's just say. That doesn't mean that that means that one thing that I did when I was younger was buy stuff that ended up being not useful because I wasn't at the skill level where I could effectively use the tools that I bought. So just start off simple and then work from there. So for me, I started off with pencil and then I moved to micron pens, which relatively inexpensive compared to some other tools. So you could choose to do that, or if you do want to focus on painting, let's say on canvas, then take the time. It's probably going to be a little bit more expensive, but focus on that. Whatever you decide you want to do, just start off at the base level and then work your way up. As going back to what I said about starting as one of the biggest challenges, once you figure out what you want to do, you can figure out your subjects, whether you want to draw backgrounds, animals, characters, all that type of stuff. You can kind of have some, what's the best way to describe it? It's good to know that when you're making your first steps, sometimes those first steps are tough, and they're some of the biggest steps that you make that set yourself apart from everyone else. So I may throw up a little graph here, but when it comes to skill that's measurable, you can actually see that when you're doing anything, whether it's drawing or other stuff, other things that require knowledge and time, your skill level for us humans, generally speaking, we tend to pick up a lot pretty quickly, and then maybe the next 20% is where the challenge begins of really learning fundamentals, all that kind of stuff. But I found it helpful knowing that by just starting off, you're able to to gain a lot of just skills compared to the average person. So by just jumping in, you're already a step above everyone else who may be interested in doing something like that. So leading into that, we have on my next kind of point that helped me. I kind of went in doing this with this idea in full effect, was to create a habit or a routine. So once a night, every night is when I draw, typically before I go to bed. But sometimes it may be at a different point in the day, but usually before I go to bed. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and it helps me wind down a little bit. And so it has become a daily activity. Now for you, you may not have the opportunity to always do that. A lot of people may be busy, but you can decide how often you want to practice. So whether that's daily, which I think a lot of artists recommend, especially starting out. You know, if you can't do daily, then you can do every other day or 3 times a week or once a week, whatever fits into your schedule. However much time you can devote, try to do so. So creating a habit is another great piece of advice that I think a lot of people have echoed in the past. Next, after you've created this habit, after you've jumped in a little bit, something that I came across maybe a little bit a month after starting off, I suggest switching it up when you get to a certain point in your practice. Whether you start off with something like fundamentals, so learning how shapes work, learning how lighting or shading works, or how the body works, stuff like that. Eventually you may find yourself kind of hitting a brick wall. Maybe you don't feel like you're improving a lot, but the best way that I feel like getting over that is to pivot to something else. If you've looked in the 150-day video that I put out, you'll notice there's a jump from doing kind of characters and anime characters to mechanical robots and stuff like that. That was a time where I switched. I also changed from pencil during that time to pen, to micron pens, and that helped me stay motivated, and I got to work on learning about different types of subjects. So eventually I went back to the characters, and now in my current progress I kind of jump between a few different things. So if you feel like you are reaching a wall, I suggest maybe switching it up. That might be worth checking out. Next up, let's see here. Ooh, this is a great one. I have a little list written down here. I kind of mentioned it before, but when you're starting off, higher quality materials does not necessarily equate to better output. Now that doesn't mean you buy, you know, pins that don't work, or paper that's not the quality that you're needing, like it's too thin or tears through or stuff like that. But going back to one of my original points, going overboard with your tools and stuff it's not going to help you progress faster, necessarily speaking. Let's say my next challenge eventually is going to be jumping from drawing in person and physically to eventually maybe trying to draw digitally. When I'm doing that, I'm going to try to remind myself that I don't need the best and brightest and the most advanced like drawing tablet to start off with, because I don't have the skill yet to appreciate all that type of device can offer. So probably just get a nice tablet, something that can get the job done, can run all the proper programs, and feels good. That's mainly my main issue. Obviously, a lot of people jumping from physical to digital, the feel is going to be different. The angle is going to be different. A lot of people have like a desk that kind of is angled in order to switch it up. And right now I'm just drawing on like a flat desk. So all those things are going to change. But I am going to remind myself not to go all out. I tend to do that a lot, whether it's for hobbies or just like when I want to go out to eat, I might try to do it too crazy and it doesn't lead to a better outcome. It's just best to spend what you feel comfortable spending. Don't go overboard. Generally speaking, to begin, the materials are not going to make up for the skill and the time put in. So start off simple. Like I said, I think I mentioned that earlier when we're talking about choosing your subject and your medium. Lastly, as we finish up this video, the last thing that I want to mention is obviously, and this type of advice I would apply to other things too. but patience is going to be your biggest hurdle or benefit. If you have, generally speaking, good time, if you are a patient person, then you're going to find that this process can be easy. For some people that are looking for instant results, it's not going to be there immediately. So it's more about the journey, right? Not necessarily the end game. At least it may be about appreciating the journey and eventually being able to appreciate the end result. I think that we all tend to have trouble when we compare ourselves to other people, to other artists, particularly. Like whenever I look at other people's stuff, it is like leaps and bounds better than what I feel like I can achieve at this point. But a great quote, I'm sure people have heard it before, is that comparison is the thief of joy. You are not going to be able to appreciate your own work if you are too worried about how well other people are doing. You may have to remind yourself that those people have been doing this for a long time. Maybe they've been working on drawing for 10 to 20 years, and you're just starting off. Of course, you're not going to match up to that type of level. But it should not discourage you. Hopefully, you can find that it may encourage you to see just how far you can go in your process. But it's not going to happen overnight. It can be very slow, especially if you decide to not switch it up at all and you're just hitting the same stuff over and over again. My suggestion, again, is to find a nice balance of drawing stuff that you enjoy drawing. Once you reach to a point where you feel like you are drawing at a certain level and you aren't really improving because maybe your subjects aren't challenging you to the best way, maybe switch over to going and looking at fundamentals. Whether that's working on, the body or figure or shapes again, because those will help build those are the building blocks to whatever you're doing. And then you can come back to your subjects again that you enjoy drawing. Or you can, if you have time, you can do both. You can work on fundamentals for the first maybe 15 minutes of your drawing time, and then another 15 minutes of what you like drawing. And then you get a good balance of both. There's no, exact way. There's no better way necessarily. I'm sure there's ways to streamline your skill. And I'm sure there's people out there on YouTube that you can find to help you with that. But it's all a bit subjective, right? Your art is going to be subjective. It is all, different for different people. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys appreciate this type of stuff, please drop a like or subscribe. That's the best way to support this type of content. I'll be putting out, we're inching close to our 200th day in a row, so there will be a video covering the 50 days that it took to get there, because we already did 150-ish days there. So we'll see some overlap. If you've seen other videos, there will be overlap of previous pieces. But this is a great way for people who are just joining the channel or just subscribing to see everything in one spot versus seeing all the stuff in different videos. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.